Hello there guys, and welcome to this weekend for Saturday's live stream here for IFMC here at Donington Park. I am JWF1 and we're going to kick things off for today's live stream with the qualifying session to determine the grid for tomorrow's European Grand Prix. If you didn't see what happened last weekend in Spain, it was a very exciting race, a wet weather race and a lot of action as well. In the end though, Fernando Alonso won that race with Lewis Hamilton second, Etihad finally getting the first legit 1-2 in their career, with Sergio Perez after a fight back getting up into third place there then. And it was so close to being Carlos Sainz Jr. getting a podium in the shadow, but he wasn't able to hold off Hamilton and Perez at the end of the race. So as you can see, it's bright and sunny here at Donington Park. Now just a couple of notes: 2 of the 11 teams have made upgrades here at Donington Park. Again, I'm not going to name, but only 2 teams have brung upgrades here into Donington Park. Remember, some teams have now reached 0 in terms of tokens, so they can't upgrade for the rest of the season. On top of that, Jean-Eric Vergne has a qualifying ban for today for causing the accident with Brendan Hartley and Esteban Ocon last weekend at the Spanish Grand Prix down at Turn 1. So he will not be taking part in qualifying, and only 21 cars will be taking part instead. So that's that really. So only one GRM in the form of Daniel Ricciardo will be taking part. As you can see, bright and sunny. So I think we should get on with this. I've waffled on for a bit, so without further ado, let's get to today's qualifying session here at Donington. So here we are then in the pit lane, and we're going to go to the end of the pit lane. Obviously, Vern watching from the sidelines. At the end of the pit lane, it's Oliver Rowland. So we will wait and get this session underway. It is a 35-minute session as per usual, and we wait to get underway for this qualifying session. And as you can see, waiting for some pit activity. We are with Oliver Rowland, who it's very clear the Monster cars have made some progress since Daniel Ricciardo took over from the South African Grand Prix, and they so far have done well. It's still unknown at this stage what their name is going to be for next season, but we will wait, as Nico Hülkenberg is the first man out on track, along with the Suomi of Kevin Magnussen. So these two are out on track first as they head down the hill towards the old hairpin. And this is a home Grand Prix for East Midlands Racing, and I think the crowd here in East Midlands are hoping to cheer this team on. And so for them, really, they're hoping to put on a show if they can, as Hülkenberg just goes out of the corner and up towards the double right-hander at Coppice. So just going around these corners now then, and in towards the chicane now then will go Nico Hülkenberg. And he'll be starting his lap very soon now then, along with Kevin Magnussen behind him as he just negotiates through the chicane. As mentioned, Magnussen is out with him. Also out on track, we have Leclerc, Van Dorn, Verstappen, Wehrlein, Ricciardo out there as well, as is Carlos Sainz Jr., Valtteri Bottas out on track, as is Antonio Giovinazzi, Brendan Hartley out on track, as is Fernando Alonso. Oliver Rowland has gone out onto the track, and that's that. So I think that is 13 cars that have gone out onto the track as we now head down the pit straight, and Hülkenberg has just started his first flying lap, as has the man behind, Kevin Magnussen, as he goes down through turn 1 now then, and now heading down the hill now then towards the tricky left-hander, which is very easy to spin the car off. You have to ensure the car is balanced, as it can slip away from underneath the car. Through the old hairpin, up the hill we go towards, I believe this is called McLean's, so now through towards the left and right-hander. I remember in 1998 in the British Touring Car Championship, it was where Reed span off and people thought that Mansell had punted him off at that race, but he didn't, as now we go through the double right-hander at Coppice. So now heading down the back straight under the bridge towards the chicane now then, the left-right chicane. And Hülkenberg looking to see if he can try and get a good lap in on his first flying lap. Of course, he is setting the benchmark time for everybody to beat, as he will now approach the second to last corner, which is called the Melbourne hairpin. So out of the corner we go, heading towards the final corner, and let's see what Hülkenberg is able to manage then. Round the final corner and onto the pit straight then goes the German, and let's see what the lap time is going to be then. Hülkenberg crosses the line, and it's a 1 minute 11.965. Kevin Magnussen goes into second with that lap, slotting in behind. Here comes Charles Leclerc in the shadow, heading down the pit straight, and he goes third fastest with that one. Stoffel Van Dorn goes fourth. Max Verstappen crosses the line, goes fourth with that one. As here comes Pascal Wehrlein in the AMP. He crosses the line to go third fastest with that lap. Here comes Daniel Ricciardo in the GRM as he now just goes around the final corner. Heading down the pitch straight, and let's see what Ricciardo can manage. He now crosses the line, and he goes 5th fastest with that. P6 for Carlos Sainz Jr. And now going around the final corner, we'll go Valtteri Bottas. And Bottas now then crossing the line to go 2nd fastest at the moment. So P2 for Valtteri Bottas, P6 for Antonio Giovinazzi. Here comes Brendan Hartley, cross the line, he goes 7th. Fernando Alonso, what can he do? He now goes fastest, so Alonso goes to the top of the timing sheets at the moment. So Alonso P1 at this stage. Oliver Rowland crosses the line to go P11, and I think that's that in terms of lap time. So at the moment it is currently Alonso fastest, with Hulkenberg in 2nd place, and then in 3rd, rounding out the top 3, is Valtteri Bottas in the Eldorado. But we've still got 8 more cars to do laps, so anything could happen at this point. And let's not forget as well, on Monday for the top class, we will be having the mid-season test taking place at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. So I've only had 2 teams come up and tell me their drivers for that day, that being EMR and Eldorado. So the 9 other teams are yet to give me drivers for what they want for the preseason test. Remember, you need the teams in the preseason test, which are the top class of course, have to choose between either their drivers or test drivers. That's it. They're the only drivers they can choose from. So to take part in this mid-season test, as into the pit lane goes Valtteri Bottas. So he just goes through the hairpin, and he now pulls into his box, and we'll be waiting for another set of cars to come out onto the track. And 4 tenths is a gap between Alonso and Hulkenberg at this stage. Whether somebody will get up to them, maybe the likes of Hamilton, and maybe even Vettel as well, and maybe even Perez as well, who's shown signs of promise during this season as well. Definitely Checo has stepped up his game since last season after, well, what had happened to him last season. It was a dreadful season for Sergio, being well outpaced by Valtteri Bottas, and so far this season it seems like roles have been reversed at Eldorado. So that's that really, because so far Perez has ran circles around Bottas this season. Bottas still yet to get a clean race under his belt, but he's hoping this weekend can kickstart that. As out on track is Ed Jones in the Mars Grand Prix car as he goes through McLaren's, and so he just goes through the left and right hander, using a lot of curb on the outside before approaching Coppice, and so he just flicks the car in, and now he will go down this back straight towards the chicane. Also on track we have Kimi Räikkönen. Also on track is Romain Grosjean in the Bud Light Motorsport car. Sergio Perez out there as well, the man that currently lies in 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship. So that's that at the moment. Sorry for the drop of frames at the moment on this stream. Also on track we have Esteban Ocon in the Martini as he just goes through Coppice corner. And also out is Kevin Magnussen, about to do a 2nd lap. Scott Dixon out there, as is Nico Hulkenberg, Charles Leclerc, Sebastian Vettel. This is Lewis Hamilton, I believe this is. It says 44, so I would presume it is. Brendan Hartley also coming out onto the track, as is Antonio Giovinazzi. And they are the guys coming out this time around. So where is Ed Jones? There he is. He was the first man of this group to start a flying lap, as he just goes through the left-hander before approaching the old hairpin, using a lot of curb on the outside before going up the hill towards the left-right at McLaren's. So Jones looking to put in a good lap if he can, as he just exits out the corner, using a lot of curb on the outside before approaching Coppice, the double right-hander, and just dropping down a few gears there, as now Jones will approach the chicane, and so now up towards the quick left-right chicane, which will take you onto the Grand Prix track. Through the chicane he goes, out of the corner, using a lot of curb, as he will now approach the second to last corner, which is of course the Melbourne hairpin. So let's see what Jones is able to do on this lap as we ride on board with the Emirates driver, heading out of the Melbourne hairpin towards the final corner. And let's see what Jones is able to do now then. Round the final corner and onto the pit straight we will go, and Jones is about to cross the line, and let's see what he's able to do. He goes 14th with that lap. Brendan Hartley is about to start a lap, as is Lewis Hamilton. He's hoping Hartley doesn't hold him up. Kimi Räikkönen goes to 3rd with that lap, so P3 for the Iceman, as it's now P5 for Romain Grosjean, P5 for Sergio Perez, as Giovinazzi starts the lap. Here comes Esteban Ocon in the Martini, as he just goes around the final corner. Let's see what Ocon's able to do, as he heads down the pit straight, and across the line he will go to go 15th with that lap, as here comes Kevin Magnussen to go up into 6th, so P6 for Kevin Magnussen, As here comes Scott Dixon in the Mars Grand Prix car. And behind him, I believe that is Nico Hulkenberg. I thought for a minute that was Sebastian Vettel, but it isn't. It is Nico Hulkenberg, who's looking to improve on his time at the moment. Dixon now then approaches the final corner. And let's see what Scott is able to do as he heads down the pit straight and across the line he will go. And he goes 18th for that lap, as it's still P2 for Nico Hulkenberg at this stage. Here comes Charles Leclerc in the shadow. Across the line he will go. He improves but stays in ninth. Sebastian Vettel only P5 for that lap, so 5th for Sebastian. So far his teammates currently outpacing him at the moment in qualifying. Nico Hulkenberg currently occupying the front row at this stage. As now we look at Brendan Hartley, who is holding up Lewis Hamilton. So it looks like Hamilton's lap has been affected this time around. Hartley now then across the line he will go and goes 11th with that lap, as Lewis Hamilton only goes 7th as a result of the hold up from Brendan Hartley in front. So don't expect that to be the true pace of Lewis Hamilton. Antonio Giovinazzi stays in 13th for the moment, as Grosjean just goes into pit lane there. As in pit lane goes Kevin Magnussen. And so that's that really, as Hamilton is now getting stuck behind Brendan Hartley, looking to try and find a move on him at Claims, but Hartley saying no to that. And Hamilton will probably try and line him up perhaps for the chicane, or maybe even up here at Coppice if he's got enough of a run, and he does so. Hamilton taking the place at Coppice, so Coppice could be a good overtaking opportunity during this Grand Prix. We know that the chicane can be, judging from GP2 and GP3 yesterday. Whether the Melbourne hairpin will be, we will wait and see. And so now Hamilton just goes out of that chicane, and now up towards the final corner then goes Lewis Hamilton. And as he goes out of the second to last corner, up towards the final corner then, and Lewis now peels into the pits. So into the pit lane goes Lewis Hamilton. And is there anybody now out on track? Yes, Oliver Rowland, another hometown favourite, as the fans will be cheering on Hamilton and Rowland this weekend. And as they're both from Britain, this is obviously in the UK, but it's hosting the European Grand Prix, just like it did back in 1993, where Senna had that amazing drive on the first lap to go on and take the victory in changeable conditions. But it doesn't look like we're going to get rain this weekend as well, as so far, including here in Nottingham, it's very bright and very sunny as well. It looks like the temperatures have dropped a little bit from yesterday now, because things have started to cool down a bit. I think there's a little bit of cloud cover now, but we're not expecting rain today because we've still got sun out there beaming down. So as that as now Rowland approaches the Melbourne hairpin to start his next flying lap. He just flicks the car in. Also on track we have Fernando Alonso, along with Carlos Sainz Jr., who undoubtedly was the star at the Spanish Grand Prix last weekend, after nearly picking up his and Shadow's first ever podium in the series, but unfortunately just couldn't hold off Hamilton and Perez in the end, and had to settle for 4th place, especially Perez, who got him on the last lap. And so that's that. Also on track we have Max Verstappen in the Martini. So that's that there then, as here comes Stoffel Van Dorn heading towards the double right-hander now then on the track, and Van Dorn will go towards the chicane. Daniel Ricciardo out on track as well, as we also have Valtteri Bottas in the Eldorado at this stage as he goes through Coppice corner. And so at the moment Bottas finding himself in 4th, a better qualifying than what he's been used to before, but still a long way to go in the session. Verline also on track as Rowland is on a lap, as is Fernando Alonso. Ed Jones has just come out, as is Sergio Perez, and I don't know if they're impeding signs of the result. Ocon also out there, as is Raikkonen and Grosjean. So that's that really, as we now try and find where Oliver Rowland is, and there he is. He's just coming out of the chicane as he'll now approach the Melbourne hairpin now then. The second to last corner now then, through the right-hander goes Rowland. And he will now approach the final corner, and let's see what Ollie Rowland is able to do now then. Round the final corner and onto the pit straight he will go, and across the line goes Oliver Rowland. Let's see what the time is going to be. He doesn't improve and stays in 16th for the moment. Here comes Fernando Alonso. Can he improve on his 1 minute 11.557 across the line? No, he can't. He doesn't improve by 0.2 of a second. Jones and Perez start light. Looks like Perez is going to get impeded. Still 15th for Sainz. No improvement. Looked like he got impeded as Ocon behind his start of the lap, as will Raikkonen and Grosjean. Here's Max Verstappen in the Martini as he just goes around the Melbourne hairpin. And now up towards the final corner then we'll go Max Verstappen. And let's see what he's able to do then. Round the final corner and onto the pit straight he will go, as we have just over 22 minutes of this qualifying session left. Verstappen crosses the line to go up to 13th of that lap, so a big improvement there for Verstappen to get up to 13th in the Martini. As now we look at Stoffel Van Dorn in the AMP. He now approaches the final corner. Let's see what he's able to do. Out of the final corner and onto the pit straight will go, and across the line goes Stoffel. And he goes up to 16th for that lap, so a big improvement for him. Ricciardo stays 15th for the moment. Here comes Valtteri Bottas in the Eldorado as he just goes around the final corner, heading down the pit straight. And Bottas now then, across the line he will go. And he improves only by 0.08 of a second, but still remains in 4th place for the moment. As here comes Pascal Wehrlein, who's currently occupying the top 10. So Wehrlein having a decent qualifying session, but he looks like he's way off. Looks like he's made a mistake somewhere. 5 seconds off, remains in 10th place for the moment. Sergio Perez, across the line he will go. Can he improve? No, stays 6th. It looked like he did get impeded on that lap. Still 21st for Ed Jones. Still 19th for Ocon. Looked like he got impeded there by Jones. Raikkonen now then crossing the line, stays 3rd with that lap, as we now look at Romain Grosjean, who goes around the final corner. Let's see what Grosjean's able to do. He's currently in 9th place. The Frenchman crossing the line and slightly improves, but stays in 9th place for the moment. Only by 500 he improves by on that lap. Anybody else doing a lap? It doesn't appear like it. So at the moment it is still Alonso fastest, Hulkenberg 2nd, Raikkonen 3rd, Bottas 4th, and Vettel running at the top 5 at the moment. So Alonso still quickest at the moment in qualifying, and so far being joined at the moment by Hulkenberg on the front row. So now Wehrlein, as you see there, just going around the Melbourne hairpin. So Ocon now then, trying to put a pass on Jones, but Jones having none of it through into that chicane. And, well, looked like Ocon was a little bit too far back that time around. As that's that really. As Vettel now out on track for EMR, currently finding himself in 5th, trying to see if he can get his EMR onto the front row, pushing his teammate down onto the 2nd row if he can, as he now goes up the hill through McLaren's. And Vettel now then just sizing his way through the left and then through the right-hander, as he will now use a lot of curb on the outside before approaching the double right-hander at Coppice. So he just flicks the car in, and now up towards the chicane he will go. And so now Vettel preparing to start his next flying lap as he just negotiates through the chicane there to get onto the Grand Prix track. And now up towards the Melbourne hairpin we will go, and just going through that corner. And as mentioned, Vettel now then about to start a lap. Also on track we have Scott Dixon in the Mars Grand Prix car. We also have Kevin Magnussen out there as well. Lewis Hamilton also joining. Nico Hulkenberg out on track as well. And so that's that really, and we will be joined by a few others as well, especially Alonso, Bottas, Giovinazzi, and I think there was somebody about to come out onto the track. Roland Hartley and Sainz and Verstappen, they're the guys out on track, as it looked like there that Leclerc has just come out onto the track. I thought for a minute there he made a mistake. Now we join Vettel, who's on a lap. He just goes through the old hairpin, and now he'll go up towards McLaren's now then, as he breaks towards the second part of that corner, using a lot of curb on the outside before approaching Coppice. Vettel, of course, costing himself a podium last time out in Spain after aquaplaning off at turn 3 due to the wet weather conditions. So, and that's pretty much where Shadow were able to pick up a lot of points last time out because of the wet weather conditions. They called it with Sainz to perfection. The fact that he was able to keep out of trouble and get into the position that he was. So it was a little bit of luck, but still, he was a star nonetheless last weekend in Spain. And I think the Spanish fans were very proud of what he was able to achieve in that car. As now Vettel just goes out of the Melbourne hairpin. He will now approach the final corner, and let's see what Sebastian Vettel is able to do then on this lap. Round the final corner and onto the pit straight he will go. Looks like one of the Eldorados is just going out onto the track. Vettel down the pit straight, across the line he'll go, and he doesn't improve. Stays 5th for the moment, does Sebastian Vettel. As now we look at Charles Leclerc, who's about to start a lap. So we look at Scott Dixon then in the Mars Grand Prix car, currently in 20th. Dixon crosses the line and improves slightly, but only by 500 a second. He remains in 20th for the moment. The Sainz behind us to start the lap. I don't know if he's going to get held up on that lap, as Magnussen stays 8th, no improvement, as Hartley about to start a lap. Here comes Lewis Hamilton now then on a clean lap. Is he able to challenge Alonso at the front now then? Down the pit straight and across the line will go Lewis Hamilton, and he goes fastest with that time. Hamilton now at the top. He locks out the front row with the Etiads. Hamilton now currently fastest at this stage. Verstappen starting a lap there then. Hulkenberg doesn't improve, stays in third, unable to split the two Etiads at this stage. Giovinazzi starting a lap. Fernando Alonso looks like he's going to be held up as both he and Rowland start a lap there then. Vettel going back into the pits. Bottas about to start one. Here is Charles Leclerc, who appears to be down on his personal best in the second sector there before going into the Grand Prix section. As now Leclerc approaches the second to last corner now then. So around the Melbourne hairpin will go Charles Leclerc, as he will now approach the final corner, as Bottas is about to start a lap in front of him there then. Let's see what Leclerc is able to do, as there is, I think that's Sainz who's getting held up again. He's having no luck with the traffic. His teammate on the around, Leclerc, is now going to cross the line. What can he manage? He doesn't improve and stays in 11th place with that lap. As Carlos Sainz Jr. free, but doesn't improve, stays 17th for the moment now then. Brendan Hartley out the final corner, and onto the pit straight he will go. Hartley crosses the line, stays in 12th position for the moment at least. As now we look at Max Verstappen in the Martini, who will now approach the final corner. And is he on for an improvement now then, as he heads down the pit straight, and Verstappen crossing the line and stays in 13th place for the moment. As we now look at Antonio Giovinazzi, he now crosses the line and he goes up to 8th with that lap. So Giovinazzi now into the top 8 with that lap, as Alonso doesn't improve, stays in 2nd place. Rowland staying in 18th. Look like Alonso finally managed to put a pass on him somewhere on the track. As now we look at Bottas, who will now come up towards the Melbourne hairpin, the second to last corner. So far I think he finds himself in 5th place. But let's see what Bottas is able to do then on this lap. Up towards the final corner then goes Valtteri Bottas. Let's see what he's able to do then. Down the pit straight and across the line he will go. And across the line. And he goes up to 4th with that lap. So up to P4 goes Valtteri Bottas. So that's that for him. So there you have it then. Anybody else on a lap? Well, Ricciardo's about to start one quite soon. We might as well go to him because nobody else is on a lap. But at the moment is Hamilton fastest, Alonso in 2nd, Hulkenberg 3rd, Bottas 4th, and then I believe it is Raikkonen who rounds out the top 5 at the moment in this qualifying session, as Ricciardo now then just approaches the chicane, quite heavy on the curbs there then, as now he will approach the second to last corner. Let's see, we'll just go through the right-hander now then, as through pit lane then goes Ollie Rowland. As up towards the final corner will go Daniel Ricciardo, as he's about to start a lap in the GRM. Heading down the pit straight he will go, as he will now come up towards turn 1, as one of the Eldorados has just come out onto the track. Through turn 1 then goes the Honey Badger, as he just uses a tad bit of curb on the outside there before heading down the hill towards the left-hander. And now up towards the old hairpin he will go, using quite a lot of curb on the outside before going up the hill towards McLean's, the left and right hander. And so now through the right he will go, a lot of curb used on the outside before approaching Coppice. Through the double right he will go, and he will now approach the chicane on the track now then, before approaching the part where he will go into the Grand Prix section of the track. Through towards the left and right hander we will go, and now approaching the Melbourne hairpin now then will go Daniel Ricciardo, as through the second to last corner now then, and then up towards the final corner now then goes Daniel Ricciardo, and let's see what he's able to do now then. Round the final corner and onto the pit straight, and Ricciardo is going to cross the line. Let's see what he's able to do then on this lap, and he improves to go up to 13th for that lap. So up to P13 goes Daniel Ricciardo, as Sergio Perez is now about to start a lap, as will Raikkonen and Ocon and Magnussen. As we now look at Pascal Wehrlein, who's currently just outside the top 10 in P number 11 in the AMP. As we have just over 13 minutes of the session, we're 5 minutes away from the 1:30 mark. We're 35 minutes away from the feature race for IFMC GP2. As Wehrlein now then up towards the second to last corner he will go, and looking to see if he could try and get the AMP into the top 10 as he just goes out of the Melbourne hairpin. And let's see what Wehrlein is able to do then as he goes around the final corner and onto the pit straight we will go then, and Wehrlein is going to cross the line, and let's see what he's able to do. He improves but stays in P number 11 at this stage, as Grosjean starts lap. Here comes Stoffel van Dorn across the line. He will go. Can he improve? No, stays 16th for the moment. Ed Jones crosses the line, stays 21st at this stage now then. So that's that for him, as we now look at Sebastian Vettel, who's about to start a lap. So we'll look at Sergio Perez behind, who's currently occupying 7th place at this stage now then. Perez up towards the final corner, he will go. And let's see what Checo is able to do. Down the pit straight and across the line goes Sergio Perez, and he improves to go up into 6th place there then. So up into the top 6 goes Sergio Perez. He's now on just a row behind Valtteri Bottas at the moment. Here comes Kimi Raikkonen, across the line goes the Iceman. No improvement, stays 5th for the moment. Lewis Hamilton about to start a lap, as is Scott Dixon and Charles Leclerc. So we'll look at Esteban Ocon. He's managed to find some clean track in front of him to try and get a better lap in through the final corner, and onto the pit straight goes Esteban Ocon, and across the line goes the Frenchman, and doesn't improve, stays 19th for the moment. Magnussen goes up into 8th on his final flying lap there, so getting his laps out of the way, so he gets up into 8th place. Magnussen doing a better job than what he did last weekend in qualifying, where he just struggled in the wet conditions, and there was 11 seconds off the pace of pole sitter Sebastian Vettel. And Grosjean stays 10th for the moment, so no improvement for him, as we now, speaking of which, look at Sebastian Vettel, who's down in 7th at the moment. Vettel now then up towards the final corner, he will go, and let's see what Sebastian's able to do as he just goes through the final corner and onto the pit straight. And Vettel now then, is this going to be an improvement for the German? And no, it's not. He stays 7th for the moment. Vettel unable to get to grips at the moment with his car, as his teammate yet again out qualifying him. Well, not yet again, he's so far out qualifying him in this qualifying session. Anybody else on a lap? Yes, Lewis Hamilton on a lap. Can he improve on his pole position time of 1 minute 11.473? Across the line then goes Lewis Hamilton. The fans cheering him on, and he improves to go to a 1 minute 11.286. A big improvement there from Lewis Hamilton, and a big improvement for Lewis as a result. Dixon stays in 20th for the moment, as it's still, as up into 12th place goes Leclerc on his final flying lap now then. As now looking for anybody else on a lap, and it doesn't appear like anybody else is currently on a lap, so we'll go to Hulkenberg, who's the nearest to do a lap in the EMR, as he just goes around the second to last corner of the Melbourne hairpin. And Hulkenberg now then up towards the final corner then goes the German, and let's see what he's able to do now then, as he just goes out of the final corner and onto the pit straight we will go. And Hulkenberg crosses the line to start his next flying lap, as now up towards turn 1, and Giovinazzi will be joining right in front of Hulkenberg's path there. So I don't know if Hulkenberg's lap got impeded, as out on track goes Fernando Alonso in the Etihad. Down the hill then goes Hulkenberg, as we ride on board of him now then towards the old hairpin on the track. And now up the hill he will go towards McLean's, through the left and then through the right-hander. And Hulkenberg trying his best to put in a very good lap up towards Coppit. And now through the corner now then he will go, using a lot of curve on the outside towards the chicane. Let's see what Hulkenberg is able to do. It looks like Alonso is trying to find a way through. He's not willing to get held up by Nico, and Nico's lap being compromised as a result, and this is his final flying lap, so any chance of him so far splitting the two Etihads look to be out of the question at the moment, as he now goes up towards the Melbourne hairpin on the track. Hulkenberg now then just getting around that corner, as he will now go up towards the final corner. Let's see what Hulkenberg is able to do around the final corner and onto the pit straight, and across the line goes Nico, and he stays in third as a result on his final flying lap. Verstappen going out the pits there in style, not quite what Ricciardo did in qualifying at China last week, but that's that really. He's now through Coppice now then goes Oliver Rowland, who's currently on a flying lap, heading down the back straight towards the chicane. One of the GRMs behind will be Ricciardo, of course, because Verne has a qualifying ban. Now through towards the left and right hander we go. And now up towards the Melbourne hairpin will go Ollie Rowland. So through the right hander now then he goes. Let's see what Rowland's able to do then on this lap, as he will now approach the final corner, and Rowland is about to finish his lap now then. Round the final corner and onto the pit straight he will go. And Rowland is now going to cross the line, and he stays in 18th place, no improvement for him, and that's the end of his qualifying session there then. A lot of people getting rid of their final flying laps as quick as possible. Here comes Antonio Giovinazzi in the Bud Light line, currently 9th at the moment in quali. Can he improve on this lap? The Italian crossing the line, and he does, but stays in 9th place on his final flying lap. Alonso doesn't improve, stays second. Looked like he got held up on his final flying lap there then, because he was 2 seconds off his personal best that time around. As we now look at Brendan Hartley, who heads up towards the final corner. Let's see what Brendan's able to do. Up in 14th place, so a solid qualifying session at the moment for the Kiwi. As now Hartley crosses the line and stays in 14th for the moment. So Sainz stays 17th again, no luck in the traffic, and a disappointing qualifying session for the man of for the start of last week, Carlos Sainz Jr. Perez starting the lap. Bottas doesn't improve, he stays 4th for the moment. As we now look at Daniel Ricciardo, who's now going through the Melbourne hairpin. And let's see what Danny Rick is able to do now then, as he will now approach the final corner and onto the pit straight he will go. Ricciardo now then across the line, and he does not improve, stays 13th for the moment, as Ed Jones is out on track. As we now look at Max Verstappen, who comes out of the Melbourne hairpin. Is he looking at an improvement now then? Verstappen through the final corner, and let's see what Max Verstappen is able to do. Across the line he goes, and he does not improve, stays in 15th place with that lap there then. So now Sainz, let's start the round. Here comes Sergio Perez, who comes up towards the final corner, and up to the pit straight he will go, and let's see what Checo is able to do. Across the line he will go, and he improves, I think. No, he doesn't. In fact, he stays 6th with his final flying lap there then. And now we look at Stoffel Vandoorne on his final flying lap, as we have just under 6 minutes remaining in this qualifying session to determine the grid for tomorrow's European Grand Prix here at Donington, UK. As now Vandoorne approaches the final corner, and let's see what he's able to do now then, is he just flicks the car in, and Vandoorne heading down the pit straight, and across the line he will go, and he does not improve, stays 16th for the moment there then. So that's that for him. Here comes Ed Jones, who heads down the pit straight, and across the line will go Jones, and he doesn't improve. No, in fact he does improve, but he stays 21st, effectively last because of Verne's qualifying ban. So that's that. Here comes Romain Grosjean, who just goes around the Coppice corner now then, before you approach the chicane. And so Grosjean now then flicking the car in through the chicane, and using a lot of curve on the outside before approaching the Melbourne hairpin. He's on a lap, let's not forget. Under 5 minutes now remaining in the session. Around the right-hander he will go before approaching the left-hander. Around he will go, and down the pit straight goes Romain Grosjean. Across the line he will go, and he improves but stays in 10th place, so still in the cusp of the top 10. Vettel coming out for one final time, as there's a few others as well. Anybody else on a lap? It doesn't appear like it. So the closest is Scott Dixon in the Mars Grand Prix car. As his teammate, I believe that is in front. Yes, it is. Ed Jones is going back into the pits. As Dixon now then approaches the final corner, and down the pit straight will go Dixon. And let's see what he's able to do as he will approach turn 1 on the track. And Dixon now then flying the car in, as he uses quite a bit of curb on the outside there then. Down the hill through the left-hander before approaching the old hairpin. And Dixon, so far, Mars Grand Prix, they said it would be a hard task at the moment, and it's proving to be at the moment. The first season for them really is to just learn about IFMC, even learn with this Porsche engine as well, and see what they can do for next season as well, especially with the V12 era coming next season as well, which hopes to shake up the field next season. So that's that really. Is now up towards the chicane will go Scott Dixon. Through towards the left and right-hander goes the Kiwi now, then flicking the car in, and using a lot of curb on the outside before approaching the Melbourne hairpin. And now through the second to last corner, there we go, up towards the final corner will go Scott Dixon, as he will now approach, as mentioned, the final corner. And let's see what Dixon is able to do then on this lap. Dixon now then across the line he will go, and he stays in 20th but improves on his best time there then. So here comes Esteban Ocon. Can he get out of 19th place? Across the line goes the Frenchman. He can improve, I think. No, he can't. He stays 19th, so not a good qualifying session for him. Still 5th for Kimi Räikkönen. Here comes Lewis Hamilton. Can he improve on his pole time by 1 minute 11.286? Across the line he will go, and he can't. Stays on a 1 minute 11.286 and stays on that. Here's Sebastian Vettel, currently 7th at the moment. Can he try and improve on that lap at the moment, as Vettel now then goes through the Melbourne hairpin before approaching the final corner. And let's see what Sebastian's able to do now then, flicking the car out of the final corner and onto the pit straight on his final flying lap. Can Vettel find some improvement? And he can't. He stays 7th with that lap, and Vettel pretty much not in a good place in qualifying for the race tomorrow as a result of that. And I think that's everybody done, to be honest with you, because there's nobody in the pit lane. Everybody else on track has finished their final flying laps. So I think that will be qualifying then for today. It looks like qualifying will finish just a little bit earlier than usual there then. But as a result, it looks like that Lewis Hamilton has taken pole position for the European Grand Prix, with teammate Alonso in second. So the Etihad's locking out the front row here at Donington. So now Vettel will be going back into the pits this lap now then, and then we'll go through the results, and that will be that, and then we'll wait for GP2 to start. So Vettel now then up towards the Melbourne hairpin he will go, and so now he will just go around that corner for approaching the entrance of the pit lane. There he goes, and Vettel into the pits. 59 seconds remaining. Not like we'll need that, as nobody else is going out onto the track. Of course, Vern watching from the sidelines because of the qualifying ban he sustained for causing that collision with Ocon and Hartley last weekend. So effectively ruining both of their races as a result. And so there you have it. Let me just fast forward time a little bit there because nobody else is in the pits. And so that's I wanted to press that one, and there you have it then. That is the end of the session there then, and that is the end of the qualifying session ahead of the European Grand Prix. So after all of that, here is the grid for tomorrow's European Grand Prix. It is Lewis Hamilton on pole position with Fernando Alonso in second. Nico Hülkenberg lines up in third with Valtteri Bottas in fourth, and then it is Kimi Räikkönen fifth, Sergio Perez in sixth, with Sebastian Vettel seventh, Kevin Magnussen eighth, Antonio Giovinazzi ninth, with Romain Grosjean in 10th. Pascal Wehrlein starts in 11th, with Charles Leclerc 12th, Daniel Ricciardo in 13th, and Brendan Hartley 14th. And if we scroll down the rest of the field, it's Max Verstappen 15th, Stoffel Van Dorn in 16th, Carlos Sainz Jr. in 17th, with Oliver Rowland 18th, Esteban Ocon in 19th, with Scott Dixon 20th, Ed Jones in 21st, and due to his qualifying ban, Jean-Eric Verne is in 22nd and last. So there you have it then, guys. That is the grid for tomorrow's European Grand Prix. Hopefully it'll be a very exciting race, but just be on the lookout for that race tomorrow. But stick around now, guys, because coming up next is the feature race for IFMC GP2, which sees Felix Rosenqvist on pole position ahead of George Russell and Pierre Gasly. So if you want to go and grab a quick drink, you can. But until then, I've been JWF1. Thanks for watching this qualifying session, and I'll see you guys in just 20 minutes time for the feature race. See you in just a little bit.